Hey everybody, welcome to my first episode of After the Chase. Today I am joined by Fernando. He was my chase partner for this one. And to say that we broke you in, right, I think that's an understatement. We had ourselves a journey. We had ourselves some adventure. So we're going to tell the story of the chase, and I'm going to start by asking Fernando some yes-no questions and some questions I want him to elaborate on. So first chase?
Definitely first chase. Never imagined to be a storm chaser. So, yeah, definitely first amazing experience. I'll tell you that.
So on Sunday, I was looking at the forecast models. The National Weather Service had been calling for this outbreak for several days in advance. And so we were at a level 4 out of 5 for that chase. So it goes with a slight risk, an enhanced risk, a moderate risk. This was none of those. It wasn't a high risk day, but it was a good day.
It was a really good day.
So I reached out to you Sunday evening and I said, "Hey Fernando, what are you doing on Tuesday? You available?" What was going through your mind when I first said that? Because you didn't know what I was about to ask you to do. You had no clue what the invitation was going to be.
So honestly, when you were asking me, I do detailing as a full-time job. So at first I thought, maybe he needs a detail or something like that. But when you told me about storm chase, I'm like, hell yeah. Like, let's go. Let's go do it. And
let's do this.
Yeah, so when I first met you, you told me that you did storm chasing, and right away I was like, yeah, let me know when. So definitely caught me off guard, but definitely excited that I did it.
Nice. Now, let's go ahead and fast forward to the morning of the chase. So I invited you on Sunday evening. The chase day was on Tuesday. So Monday I kept sending you messages like hyping you up, let's get ready for this. But Tuesday morning rolled around, and back here in Northwest Indiana, it was chilly. I think it was in the mid 40s when we left.
Yes, mid 40s. It was getting up there to the low 50s.
Yeah, but very, very chilly, very cloudy. And I got to ask you, so like I told you Tuesday morning, where we're going isn't that far away, but it's going to be 80 degrees when we get there. And I know what your response was to me, but you want to let the audience know, what was your response when I said, hey, we're going to have like a 30-degree temperature difference between now and what we're about to experience? I
didn't believe it. Honestly, at first, I was all like, there's no way we're going to go from Indiana weather to Florida weather in just a couple hours. Right. That's pretty much what my mind was going to.
Right. So we leave here Northwest Indiana. We cut across the state of Illinois. And I told you, I don't like traffic, so I didn't take I-80 across. We took, I think, Route 17.
Yep.
Illinois Route 17. It's Route 10 here in Indiana through Lake Village and across into Moments and then through Kankakee. And then we kept on going west from there. The original plan was to cross the Illinois River at Lakin, but we had some early morning thunderstorms, and
definitely, yep.
Yeah, they went severe warned, and they were hailers. Now, I remember telling you, like, we can go take a look at these if you want to, but we don't want to get too distracted from the game. Now, what made it really interesting, though, is we were driving in fog. I mean, it was still, like 51, 52 degrees and foggy. We're passing windmills in the fog. It's kind of creepy. And,
eerie.
We know, or at least I'm telling you, hey, like 20 miles north of here, there's a severe thunderstorm, and you can't see it. Like, I mean, that had to have been eerie for you.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Just from seeing the skies just go from, darker to darker to darker, it was definitely gave you like an eerie feeling, especially seeing that fog and seeing, like where we were at, it was around the bins, the big corn bins, and it was definitely very eerie, but it was cool looking.
Yeah, super creepy. So we decide, hey, we are going to take a side trip. We're going to take a field trip up to see the storm. But it was, 30 minutes up, 30 minutes over, 30 minutes back. We had time. I kept telling you the storms were going to initiate in Iowa later in the day, or at least that was our target zone. So we went ahead and made the detour. We went on the shortest stretch of interstate in the United States.
Yes, we did.
Yep.
So that was another experience on top of the storm chasing.
Yep, and if you want to know what that interstate is, make sure you go out there, look it up, go down in the comment section, let us know if you found it. It is in Illinois, and there's a funny story behind how Illinois got that short stretch. So we ended up going. We took a wrong turn. I hope there's no police officers watching. We ended up having to make an illegal U-turn.
Yeah.
But there's like nobody on that stretch of highway.
No, there was not.
Nobody.
And you asked me, should we do it? And I'm like, screw it, let's do it.
Yeah, there's nobody around. We weren't endangering anybody.
No one was there. Literally no one was there.
Yeah, but, it was so creepy because, we were driving in fog, and then the next thing you know, the skies do keep getting darker and darker and darker. And we got down to the southern edge of it. Now, I told you I don't want to get into this because I don't want to get into hail, and we'll talk about how well that worked out for us on Tuesday.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll talk about that later in the video. But at that point, we decided we're going to go ahead and start making our way south. So we did head south. The ultimate goal was to go down and catch I-74 down in, I think it was Galesburg was where we got on.
Okay.
Or no, it was on the west side of Peoria. We went through Galesburg on 74. Went through Burlington. We entered Iowa. Our target zone for the day was Mount Pleasant. And by no means did that mean that we expected storms to fire up right there in Mount Pleasant. But I told you, when I chase, typically what I'll try to do is I'll find an area that looks good. And what's really important when you're chasing or spotting is that not only do you find an area in the target zone, you're specifically looking for one that has good roadways. You want to have access north, south, east, west. And Mount Pleasant offered all of those. So it was a good place to start the day. And then at that point, after the big decision's been made, we start making those smaller decisions that either get us into the tornado or don't, depending on if they're good decisions or not. Our decisions worked out.
Yep.
I believe there was really only 2 tornadic thunderstorms on the day. The one that we were on and the one that produced the tornado out just west of Des Moines is a very small tornado. The one that we were on was an EF3. It was a giant. So we were definitely on the storm of the day. So we get there, and before we talk about who we met up with, I want to talk a little bit about what happened. So we are going through, I believe the name is Monmouth, Illinois, and we are on the east side of town, and the temperature is like 68 degrees.
Yeah.
By the time we got to the west side of town, the sun was out. It was 80 degrees. What was going through your mind?
I'm like, there's no freaking way. I was all like, well, what was going through my mind was everything that you told me up to that point happened. I mean, whether it was the skies getting clear to the temperature, like, literally rising so high, I did not expect that. I definitely did not expect that. And if there's any, misinterpretation or with any, sense of direction that I had, it was just because I was excited to be filming. That's all I was excited about. I mean, so when you're telling me all these towns and stuff, I'm like, okay, when do I get to pull out the camera?
So, yeah, in the 10 minutes that it took us to get from the east side of Monmouth, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, go down to the comment section, let me know. But yeah, I mean, within the 10 minutes it took us to get from the east side to the west side, we went from mostly cloudy skies and, upper 60s. I mean, already at that point it was warmer than when we left.
Yeah, it was definitely.
Within 10 minutes, we go from those conditions to sunny skies. We can see the storm all behind us, Looked like the front was passing, and it was passing, but it was a warm front. It wasn't what was going to trigger our storms. And we went all the way up to 80 degrees. Now, by the time we got to Burlington, now we're looking at 81, 82 degrees. Yep. And I remember telling you, right as we were crossing into Iowa, that if we got up to 84 degrees, I was going to get nervous.
Yep.
And the reason why is I understand the laws of thermodynamics and how that affects storms. I understand all of those things. I've studied this stuff since I was 9 years old. And we hit 85 degrees while we were there. And you pointed it out.
Like, Dan, it's 85 degrees. Something's going to happen.
And I looked at you and I was just like, oh man, something big's going to happen. So, really cool story. So before we start talking about the storms building, we're sitting there in Iowa at Mount Pleasant, and we decided we're going to look for a place to park. So we went to the gas station, we topped off, we grabbed some water, used the restroom. When you are out storm chasing, any chance you get to top off your tank and use the restroom, you need to take advantage of that because you never know once the action starts when you're going to have that next shot. As it turns out, it was Wally's, 5 hours later, with some curly flies.
Yeah, curly flies.
Curly flies for real.
Definitely.
So we're at the gas station, and while we're there, we noticed a group of storm chasers parked out behind it. But, I was looking at the map, and I thought, well, there's a park that's down here on the southeast side of Mount Pleasant. It's like Lakeside Park or whatever, Lakeview Park. I can't remember the name of it. But we decided, hey, let's go sit there for a little bit. So we went down there, and we were just kind of waiting. And it was kind of boring. I was thinking, let's go back and talk to those guys, because one of the things that I was trying to tell Fernando is storm chasing is a community. It is a group of very passionate people that are out there, and a lot of us are not the yahoos that you think we are. A lot of us are out there truly to give advanced warning, to let the National Weather Service and emergency management know what's happening, to be the actual eyes on the sky, part of the Skywarn team. Let them know if there's any risk to human life and property on the ground. And, we're just very passionate about what we do, and I think that came across. So we go back to the gas station. We met a really, really cool group of guys. So, hey, guys, I hope you're out there watching this. You know who you are. I'll give you plugs down in the description, because I want to make sure everybody's out and sees your work, too. Huge fan of some of those guys. Some of those guys I already knew. I was nerding out on you, like, I know that guy. I know that guy from their videos.
Just to see the amount of equipment that it takes to do what you guys do is just amazing,
Right. So were you surprised by that?
I was way surprised.
Yeah.
I didn't know, honestly, there was a community of storm chasers. I didn't know that it was a big thing, and now I'm kind of glad that I'm into it, because like I was telling you, I don't have a lot of hobbies. But now I kind of want to make this a thing, So hopefully we'll make some more YouTube videos or be included in the storm chasing with you, because it's amazing. So, but yeah, in regards to that, I didn't know what it took to be doing that. Like seeing the guys, the amount of equipment from laptops to iPads to Canon cameras to just everything, dash cams. I was like, wow. And so it was definitely amazing. The big learning experience in that too, and just amazing to see.
Yeah. So we hooked up with those guys there, and we said, hey, let's all kind of chase together. When you're chasing, you don't want to get into a huge group, because you don't want to get into traffic jams. We'll talk about that, because we got into traffic. That slowed down our escape. Slowed down. We never quite made it to where I wanted to make it because of traffic. But there is something to be said about strength in numbers and safety in numbers. So when you're chasing with a group of guys and gals, if you're together, you can compare notes. You're looking at radar data. You're saying, okay, my experience says this is what's going to happen. Their experience says that's what's going to happen. So we tagged along. There was a group of me and you, and I'd say maybe 8 others in 3 other vehicles. And a few people would stop and visit, and then they would take off. And one of the things that I found really interesting is, as we're sitting there, so, the sky starts to darken. We go from those beautiful clear skies to now we've got cumulus. Now we got some really, really pretty clouds going, a little bit of a modest popping. To now there's no doubt there's something major brewing. And we're sitting there, and we're looking at these storms. Now we've crossed back into Illinois at this point. We're looking south-southeast, kind of actually down in Missouri still. The storms hadn't quite crossed into Illinois, but these storms are so huge we could see them from our vantage point. By the way, thank you, Alex Fanning, for providing this information. When that storm that we were on produced those tornadoes right by us, it was at 51,000 feet tall. To put that in perspective, a lot of times your airliners will travel in the mid 30,000s.
38 maybe.
Yeah.
I think maybe a higher plane is 38.
This storm is roughly 2 miles higher than where most commercial airliners fly. So that puts it in perspective. I mean, these things were incredible.
And backtracking just a little bit back to the storm chasers, like, I didn't think they were coming from so far away. I heard there's some guys from Texas. We actually, after the whole storm and everything, we met up with a guy from Atlanta, Georgia. Mm-hmm. David out there, if you're watching this. So, I mean, they're from all over. Missouri, Illinois.
Nebraska.
Yep. And yours truly from Northwest Indiana.
Yep. Yeah, so I mean, it really is an amazing community. You got Reed Timmer that's there from Oklahoma City. He actually lives in Moore. We ran into, well, not literally ran it. We passed Reed Timmer, who's one of the most famous storm chasers in the country, if not the world. So yeah, you got this convoy from all over the place. A lot of people converging in the area. Now, at this point, we're sitting there along the side of this country road, and we're watching the storm coming. And I'm watching on radar. There's another storm that was east-southeast of that one, and it looked like they just kept getting closer and closer and closer. And I said to everybody, this storm's going to be a right turner. It's going to turn to the right.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
And we need to go. And we need to go. And we were the first ones to break off the group, and we left. We went south, south and east and south and east and south and east. Yep. we're rumbling and stumbling over, rock roads and dirt roads, and sometimes we'd hit an asphalt road or a chip and sealed road. Sometimes we'd find a state highway. We knew the general direction that we were wanting to go. Now, the interesting thing is, the direction that we took, we had two different plays, and you'll see on the video, there's a storm to the left and a storm to the right. So as you're looking at this video, the storm on the right is the one that we ended up choosing. Yes. And that became the dominant storm. It was so strong, it literally inhaled the other storm, which was bad news for us because that spun it even further to the east, became even more of a right turner, which meant that we never were able to get out in front of it because its forward speed just took off. I mean, we're booking it, 50 to 55 miles an hour on these roads, and the storm is moving faster than we were.
Because at some point I was like, Dan, it's literally right beside us.
Yeah. So we're going through these towns, and, at first I wasn't too concerned, and I don't think you were either. It was more just the excitement. The storm was still well off to the southeast, but as we got closer and the tornado warning started happening, we were coming into a town, and I'm looking at the radar, and I see a very distinct rotational couplet on the radar. We already know there's hail, and there is just constant cloud-to-ground lightning. The lightning barrage was intense. I mean, we're driving in my truck, and it's shaking the truck. That's how loud the thunder was. And as we're going through town, we see this father with his 3 kids. He's holding one, and he's running with 2 in this hellacious thunderstorm. It is just pouring down rain. There is constant lightning, and we're not talking lightning flashes. We're talking lightning strikes. We know there's hail because we just barely reached the tip of it. We know there's rotation. We can see the couplet on radar, and it's really close to town. What was your thought at that point?
Me as a dad, I literally saw myself like, so my boy is 3 years old, or he's going to be 3 years old here in June. And I honestly felt so helpless, but I was always hoping that maybe their destination was closer than what we thought. But I just saw myself and that dad just holding my boy, trying to take him to safety somewhere. Because, I mean, at that point, they knew what was coming. So it was definitely something... it just gave me like a sense of sadness in that instant, honestly. I would say that's pretty much what it was.
I mean, it was definitely a gut check. It was in the town of Macomb. We're not going to show footage of the dad and the 2 kids. My first instinct was anger. I thought, why is this dad endangering his children? But then my second thought was maybe he's running for cover. Maybe he doesn't have a storm shelter. And unfortunately, I in the Midwest, you need to have a storm shelter, but there's a lot of places that still don't. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I just know that in that moment, it actually kind of choked me up.
Yeah.
I'm feeling for that. At that point, when I got over my first instinct was to be angry, which is, never good. We should always show other people grace. But when I got over that and I was thinking maybe he's just trying to get his kids to shelter, it choked me up.
I mean, even right now, just the thought of it, I'm seeing the dad holding his one boy with the 2 boys right behind him. Mm-hmm. I'm seeing it right now, and it just, at that point, I think we both just kind of felt like a very eerie feeling, a very sick to the stomach kind of feeling, and maybe in that we were both having 2 different kinds. Me, it was more sadness. You was more anger at that point, and and then with the storm just darkening the area, it just made it even worse.
Yeah, and that anger still hasn't fully gone away because when you know that there is going, first of all, and I mean this, everybody should be weather aware. Everybody should be weather aware. When the National Weather Service is talking about a potential severe weather outbreak of this nature 4 days in advance, you should not wait until the storm is on your doorstep to be taking shelter. So even giving the father the grace, let that be a lesson to not wait so long. Protect yourself, protect your children, protect your friends, protect your loved ones. That's why I give all the notifications on Facebook that I do. That's why it's so important to me when the weather is bad. Go out to my Facebook page, Daniel Amsler. Find me. Send me a friend request if you want to. That's fine. My posts are all public when it comes to the weather anyway. But if you live in Northwest Indiana, it's amazing how many people come to my Facebook page.
Oh yeah,
anytime the weather's bad, because it's so important. So yeah, don't wait until it's on your doorstep. Have a plan and be proactive in that plan. Those kids were put in danger. I don't know if the hail ever came through that town because we got out of there.
Yeah, we got out of there and didn't really look back. On the contrary, we kept looking forward after we passed the town of Table Grove. And but I mean, me being ignorant with that kind of stuff with the weather advisory, I used to be one of those kind of people until that day, because I never really took it seriously. I was always like, tornado warning, it's never gonna hit us, and that's my wife. She always gets really high anxiety when it comes to tornadoes, and me, I'm like, don't worry about it, it's never gonna hit us, Well, how many other people around that town probably had that same mentality, mm-hmm. and if they would have listened. So from now on, I'm definitely going to take that a lot more seriously and being a little more prepared, because you never know when it's going to come to your town.
Right, and when those tornado warnings are issued, what people need to realize is that tornado warning might be for an entire county or even half a county. The National Weather Service has been doing a fantastic job of saying this tornado warning is for southern Jasper County or northern Jasper County. But it can still be, even the largest tornado ever recorded in El Reno is 2.6 miles wide. That's relatively small when you're looking at a 15-mile wide, tornado warning. And a lot of times the tornadoes are much smaller, 100 to 200 yards at most. But if they're issuing that tornado warning, that's because there's rotation that they're seeing on radar. Now, maybe that tornado will hit the ground, maybe it won't. Maybe that rotation will never realize into a tornado, but it doesn't matter. There's still going to be strong winds around that, and it still could. And ask the people of Table Grove how fast life can change. We're kind of getting ahead of ourselves. So look, we're coming out of Macomb, and we're looking south, and this updraft is absolutely maturing. So why we ended up choosing the storm that we chose as we're heading south is we get to a point, we're still north of Media, Illinois at this point, so this is before we even get to Macon. And I realize that I'm starting to see this what looks like a bell. And an experienced storm chaser will look at that and know immediately that we've got a strengthening updraft that is starting to show signs of rotation. We call it a mesocyclone. So if you hear storm chasers say that, that's what it means, is a rotating updraft. So we're seeing signs of this. I'm seeing signs of it adjusting the other storm. At one point, I was actually afraid that adjusting that other storm was going to kill this storm, cut off its inflow.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
But it didn't. It actually ended up stealing that energy. And basically what that did is it propelled it further east. It propelled the hailstones further out away from the meso, which is why we got baseball-sized hail where we should not have. Where we were at, we should have been safe from the hail. But this storm was so incredibly strong. The other thing that you have to realize, too, is there was a capping inversion. So when you hear meteorologists or storm chasers talk about the cap, what they're talking about is a warm layer of loft. So in order for water vapor to turn into a cloud, the temperatures have to be right. And I'm going to oversimplify this, but I want you to think about it like this. If you're in the summertime, you can't see your breath because your warm, moist breath is meeting warm, moist air. And basically, a capping inversion is when you have that warm, moist layer aloft, and those storm clouds, they just can't materialize. But in the wintertime, when your warm, moist breath meets that cold, dry air, you see your breath. Essentially, you're seeing a cloud for the purposes of this demonstration. So that cap held those storms down for so long that you knew that once one broke the cap, it was going to go crazy. We had cape values of over 3,000. To put that in perspective, you can get thunderstorms at 200 to 500 cape values. Severe weather only takes 750 to 1,000. We were at 3,000. Yep. That's just nuts. So with the cape values being that strong, with the wind shear being that strong, you knew that if anything could beat the cap, it was going to go crazy, and that's exactly what happened. So we're heading south and east and south and east, and at one point, we're trying to cross, I believe it was Illinois State Route 67. I'll have to look that up. Go down to the comment section if I'm wrong. We're going to show you guys a video. Point it out for me. But we're trying to cross State Route 67, and we get stuck there for like 4 or 5 minutes.
Yep.
And I'm losing my mind. Like, get out of the way, people. What are you doing? We're going to have to mute the audio because there might have been some swear words in there.
There's a lot of swear words.
But these people are driving directly into it. And at this point, there's already a tornado on the ground. Now, remember, not all tornadoes are the classic ropes or the classic cones that you see on TV. We were chasing what's called the high precipitation supercell, or an HP supercell. And the definition of a tornado is the violently rotating winds that have reached the earth. It doesn't always mean that you're going to see a giant condensation funnel. Sometimes there's going to be multiple funnels on the ground. We call that a multi-vortex tornado. Sometimes it's so wrapped in rain you can't even see it, but we could see those rain curtains wrapping around the storm. And as an experienced chaser, I know what these people are driving into. I got to ask you, man, what was your opinion when I'm sitting there? Get that out of the way. Beep, 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 beep. Get out of the way. So not only were they driving directly into it, they were holding us up, which is eventually why the hail caught us. We weren't able to get out in front. But what was your thought at that point? I mean, because that was probably the most unhinged I was during the entire time.
So I'll be honest with you. At no point was I ever really that nervous that we were going to, like, get sucked up or nothing like that, kind of crazy. But what was going through my mind is exactly the same thing as you, except I was more quieter of saying, get the hell out, people. Like, we're trying to go. Like, you know, they're trying to get away. We're trying to go. We're trying to beat it. And the whole time that you were telling me is, you know, we need to beat that hail. Because if we don't, there's going to be a lot of damage. Mm-hmm. And so that was definitely what was going through my mind. It's just telling, you know, and I'm silently telling people, get the hell out of the way so we can just keep going and go and try to beat it. Try to beat that storm.
Yeah, and so just like with that man with his kids, sometimes when I'm frightened for people, not necessarily for myself, because at no point were we in the path of the tornado. I've been chasing since 1997. I'm a very experienced chaser. At no point were we ever in the tornado's path. The closest we got to it was a mile, which is about the edge of my comfort zone. I was worried for those motorists that were hitting southbound on 67. And, you know, just like with that guy with the kids, sometimes when I'm afraid for other people, it comes out as anger, but it's really concern. And when those people were holding us up, so I knew at that point I had that sinking feeling in my stomach that we were going to hit the hail, which could possibly end our chase. As an experienced storm chaser, when you see updrafts like that, you know that hail's going to be massive. That was the biggest I've ever seen in person.
Really? Yeah,
that was the biggest. We'll get to that here in a few minutes. We're going to show you some footage. We ended up taking some baseball-sized hail. But I am terrified for those people, and I was telling Alex, who is another chaser. So, Alex, hey, man, how are you? We're gonna use one of your pictures here. Alex Fanning is just an amazing individual. Go out, follow him on both Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. He produces some amazing work. He's got an absolutely stunning time lapse of the tornado.
Yeah, I saw that. That was very nice.
So the problem is that time lapse he has of the tornado, you and I are right by it. We're like right next to it at the time he's catching that.
That ain't the first video I was in the way, so you'll see that later on.
So, like, it's just a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach. Number one, I know we're going to be in danger of the hail, not the tornado, but those people were in danger of the tornado. And I was telling Alex, like, the next day I just kept looking for reports of people being killed off of Route 67. I'm almost positive that was the route number because I was so sick with worry. And then as we try to cross the road, we have other storm chasers parked crossways. I mean, they're parked across the road so they can see it, but they're blocking our way, which slowed us down again. So we ended up bailing east. We were traveling around 45, 50 miles an hour on a county road, and I couldn't go any faster because the hail was coming down. You know, when you got, nickel-sized hail and it's coming down at 100, 120 miles an hour and we're driving an additional 50 miles, it's 170 miles an hour of impact because the storm was so strong it was sucking the hail back towards it. You got some amazing footage. We are literally traveling right beside the tornado.
Well, for the first time, I'm glad it wasn't that bad.
Oh, man, amazing footage. So we've got that running here so you guys can see. So at this point, what you're seeing is the tornado. It's mostly rain-wrapped. You can see the inflow, the rear flank downdraft coming in. You can see that inflow jet coming around. And the tornado is wrapped right there on the right edge in the rain. And at some points, there was more than one tornado on the ground. And Alex, his time-lapse shows that. You can see multiple rotational vortexes on the ground, multiple dust clouds coming up, debris fields. But we end up having to bail. So we are running down this road. We're heading towards Table Grove. The tornado is roughly 3/4 of a mile to a mile to our south. and we take a shot to the window with the baseball-sized hailstone, and that's what you're seeing right now. There goes the window. And we pull into this guy's house, and there was another set of chasers that pull in right next to us. Guy's name ended up being Alan. You can see him on the video waving us into the house. Yep. Now, you said something funny that's cracking me up. So we purposely parked under the tree because, again, like most people say, well, why would you park under a tree? That you shouldn't do that. You're going to risk debris. But like I said, I knew where the tornado was. We weren't going to get hit by the tornado. And we have to say that because of the story that we're about to share about those other fellas.
Yeah. Those
other chasers that pulled in next to us. But we pull underneath this tree. Alan is on his covered porch waving us in. And you ask me,
I'm like, do we stay here? Do we go in? I didn't know what to do. I mean, this is my first time, but I mean, like I said, I had so much confidence because I knew you were super chill about everything. So, So yeah, that was definitely my question.
Yep. And I literally told you when we pull over, we're not pulling over from the tornado. We're safe from the tornado. We're pulling over because I don't want to damage my truck with this hail. So when Alan was waving us in, my first thought is it's going to be safer under his covered porch than it would be out here in the truck because, God forbid, these baseball-sized hailstones turn into grapefruit size and our vehicle turns out like Swiss cheese. Chris Hall, how you doing there, buddy? Yeah, I stole your picture, and don't think by deleting it you can keep me from using it. I caught it. I screenshotted it fair and square. So what I'm worried about is glass coming in. If these hailstones get any bigger, I felt confident that we were going to be fine. I also knew it was going to get windy because at some point that rear flank downdraft, we were so close to the tornado that there's no way we could avoid the wind. We were definitely going to avoid the tornado. I was worried about taking a baseball or a grapefruit-sized hail at 80 miles an hour through the windshield onto our lap. Now we got broken glass everywhere. So when Alan is waving us in, that's when I said, yeah, we need to go in. I know you were concerned about getting hit in the head or, taking a shot. Did you get hit?
No. But honestly, I think the whole time you were concerned more about my safety than what I was. Because I was just wanting to record. But my thought when that baseball-sized freaking hail hit the windshield, it was not like, oh, something's going to happen. No, it was like, your wife is going to kill you. When she finds out. So, yeah, and then when we saw Alan, I was like, hey, God, you must be watching, because, I mean, it was so crazy how it went from getting hit on the windshield, pulling over underneath that tree, and Alan waving us in. Thank you, Alan.
So, Alan, we didn't catch your last name, but it is nice to know that there is still kindness in the world. Yep. Thank you so much for inviting us in, and we are so sorry that those other guys
scared you maybe a little more.
We're maybe scaring you by acting a fool. So I'm going to talk to you about that because out of everything, this is probably the highlight of the chase because, we talked about the sinking feeling for the kids' sake in the town of Macomb. We're going to talk about the devastation in Lewiston and Table Grove and Bryant. But for me, the highlight, the part that made me laugh is, so Alan invites us into the house. So you and I go in. The other two storm chasers didn't catch their name. They come in behind us. What were they acting like? What was going on there?
They were scared. I mean, they were like scared. It was like, I mean, I don't know how to say it. I mean, just you probably got better words to say it than I do.
So they come running in the house behind us. We need to get down to the basement. Do you have a basement? There's a mile wide wedge heading right towards us. So.
And I'm all like, there is?
I look at you, you look at me, and because you're looking at me like, is that what you're thinking? Yeah. And what was my reaction?
You're super chill. You're like, okay, I guess we'll go down the basement. And the whole time I'm just like, okay, do we need to start? Like, should I be freaking out? Like, that was my question. Like, should I be freaking out to the point that I need to be calling my mom? Or just stay chill, because I see two different perspectives. I see these kids freaking out,
and he did call his mom. He was on the phone with his mom. Mom, I'm scared.
I tried so hard not to laugh. You're probably watching that. I'm sorry, but it was just I don't know. Like I didn't know how to react. Like I'm looking at you on how to react because you have a lot more experience. And me, I mean, it's literally my first day.
So literally those guys were freaking out. The one kid was on the phone with his mom, and he's Mom is coming right towards us. It's a wedge. And I'm looking at Alan. You're looking at me. Yeah. I'm smirking. Alan's like, what's going on here? But the really cool part is, and man, we should have maybe caught footage, but we were trying to be respectful for Alan's privacy, so we did not film inside his house. We're going to post a little bit of video from his back porch. In the video that we're about to play, we'll go ahead and do that one completely screen over screen here with the audio full blast so you can hear what the sound of so at this point it was a stovepipe tornado. It was about, I don't know, 300-400 yards wide. It was 3/4 of a mile to a mile southeast of us at this point. Wow, man. Yeah, it's right here. And so I knew where the tornado was. Those guys say there's a wedge coming towards us. They say, let's go to the basement. I was a little concerned. The entire south-facing wall of that house was glass, so it wasn't a terrible idea to go to the basement. My other thought was maybe they saw something I didn't, but I also had the radar in my hand. So we're down there. I'm looking it up like, do these guys know something that I don't? And look at the radar, and I'm like, nope. I know exactly where this tornado is. I saw it as we pulled in, and you saw it on the video. I'm going to highlight it for you on the video. You saw it as we pulled in. You know it's well south of the house there. I knew where it was visually. I knew where it was on the radar. I knew what was going on outside. I knew why what was going on outside was happening. So if you could, though, because this is important, so go ahead and just talk about my reaction and what you were thinking watching me. Because after you do, I want to make a point that's very important for storm chasers and storm spotters. Again, I've been doing this since 97. I'm not saying I'm the best one out there by far and away. I am not. But I am one of the most experienced ones, and there's a lesson to be learned. So contrast for me, in your words, the difference in reaction between us and them.
I would say for us, and more or less, I'll say you, because like me is more like of a mimicking reaction, right? I'm just pretty much looking at you. So it was a very super chill, like kind of face you were putting on, because you knew what was going on. You knew what the storm was doing. And I mean, we knew that from the time that we left the other crew, that what was going on. And you were even talking, it might start going just to the right. And it's exactly what happened. So, and then in comparison with the other crew, I mean, they were, I feel like a lot of times when you freak out, you might get a little reckless. So then you don't start thinking straight. And, I mean, you can take it from there, but that's what I saw. That's definitely what I saw.
Well, and that's exactly what I was going to go. You have to stay calm when you're in situations like that. It doesn't matter if it's storm chasing, if you're in a, God forbid, a bad situation anywhere in life when something terrible is happening, natural disaster, other human beings being awful. You have to keep your head about you. So we were down in the basement, and the window was right at eye level for us. We were watching the hail bouncing off. We knew the wind was howling. You see it in the video. We're going to play that one on loop a couple times for you, just so you can see all that white stuff you're seeing on the ground is hailstones. Wow, man. Yeah, it's right here. Yeah, it's right here. And most of those at that point are about baseball size. The smaller ones are golf ball size. But, you can see them bouncing on the ground. The problem with those guys losing their head is they went out on that covered porch before they should have. Now, I will say this. A covered porch is better than not having a roof over your head at all. But when the wind is blowing 80 plus miles an hour, it is still going to throw those sideways. I mean, you can be underneath the roof, but if that baseball is getting hurled, it could still come up underneath there and get you. And what do the guys say? We must be crazy or something like that?
Yeah, so the guy videoing, the guy that called his mom, went outside first, and he wanted to, start recording. So the other guy, he was like, oh man, he's crazy. He must be crazy. And then he like stops and he's like, oh, I guess I'm crazy too, and he starts. It was like a movie. It was like a, like you're watching a movie, and
it was like Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
I mean, no offense, but to me, that's what it seemed like. Like,
yeah, that literally. Yeah, exactly.
Why are you running out there? Whether you're running to this south-facing wall that's made of solid glass, when baseball-sized hail is falling at 100 plus miles an hour and getting blown sideways by 80 mile an hour wind gusts from the rear flank downdraft and the inflow jet. Why are you doing that, or even worse, going out on it is a covered porch, but the wind was... I just don't understand it.
I mean, think about the force that it takes to break that windshield. Then imagine that hitting your head.
Well, right, and people die from hailstorms. I mean, it happens here in the United States. It happens around the world. Farmers lose livestock every year to this stuff.
So you're saying I could have died on my way into that door?
Shh.
Don't tell my wife.
Don't say that. No, we were sheltered because where we parked, we parked in such a way that the truck was, if anybody was in danger, it was going to be me. Because if you notice the way that I angled the truck, you were protected by the side of the truck as you got out. You were protected by the tree, which was right underneath the porch. You were protected the whole time. I was the only one that was exposed to it. But I also was smart enough. Notice we saw Alan waving us in. We didn't go right away.
No, we didn't.
Because I wanted to size up the situation first and make sure that we could safely do that. So in that moment, what I'm doing is I'm weighing the pros and the cons. And is it more dangerous to stay here in a vehicle surrounded by glass, or getting out on this fast enough to get to that porch?
And I'm laughing.
It was an educated choice.
I'm laughing because as you're telling, I'm asking you, like, okay, do we go? Because I'm watching Alan, like I said, waving us in, and I'm like, do we go? And then you're like, yeah. I don't see you going. So I'm here opening the door a little bit, and I'm like, I repeated it. I'm like, do we go? And you're like, yeah. So I don't go until he goes. So then I'm like, okay, screw it, So I start going.
Well, you were more sheltered than I was.
So I thought it was funny, just and
no, I just want to make sure you made it okay before it.
And another thing, I don't know if you're gonna touch this or not, was when you said when we started getting closer to the storm, you were gonna turn your compass on your truck.
Yes.
Knowing your sense of direction, because I'll tell you what, I'm pretty good with sense of directions because I used to go make deliveries for a John Deere dealership here in town, and I lost all my sense of direction because the whole time we were looking south, like you said, where the storm was, I thought that was east.
Oh, wow.
That whole time, I thought that was east.
See, this is the first time I'm realizing that.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
So even, when we were leaving Table Grove, you were saying, well, we need to go this way to go home. I'm like, home's that way. And you're like, no, it's this way. So, from that point on, from the point that we went into Alan's home, even maybe a little before that, and maybe it was because I got so concentrated in filming or the excitement or whatever it was, I lost sense of direction. So it's very important. I thought I mentioned that because it's something that I didn't at first. When you told me, I was like, it's not that necessary, like we're going to know, we're going to have our GPS, but look how easy it was for me to just get, sense of direction kind of lost.
Right, and let's go ahead and talk about this because, shortly after we leave Alan's house, the chase wraps up. We do catch several more glances of the tornado between the cameras, the dash cam, the camera that you were running. We catch one roping out. We catch another one that's just a monstrous. It could even have been a wedge. It was off east. We got it on camera. We're going to put all this up here. But a couple things I want to point out. So there have been many times that I've storm chased by myself. And what did I tell you is the pro of me storm chasing by myself?
Is that you don't have to worry about no one else. The sense of, like with me being within there with you, you're worried also about my safety. So now you have to take less risks because you want to make sure I get home safe. And like I told you, man, I was like, when I got in that truck, I knew the risk, which, that probably still doesn't make you feel any better, but I knew the risk that I was getting into. And obviously, you had me at a very comfortable level because you told me, I have a family to go back to, so definitely that made me feel a lot more comfortable knowing that you weren't going to put me in big danger.
Yeah, so for everybody that goes out to my Facebook page when I'm out storm chasing, you all stay safe. I want you to hear what he just said. Don't stop making those comments because when you do that, it reminds me that I have a family at home that's counting on me. So please keep putting that out there, pushing that message, because, you know, I'll just tell you the pros of having a chase partner were multiple. And the first thing I want to compliment you on is your navigating.
I appreciate it.
So when you're the con of storm chasing by yourself is it's really hard to be keeping your eye on the road and your navigation, because it's not just where am I going to turn next. You have to know how long you have. So in the video, there's been times where I've asked you, okay, we need to go east. Find me a road. And you'll find a road and be like, okay, and we can go on that for days. Or, hey, we can go south. In 1 mile, we got a road that's going to go back east. And that eastward road's going to let us go east for 3 miles. I mean, that's invaluable. So having that navigator with you, planning your route ahead of time is huge. Having an extra set of eyes on what's going on. In this case, we had multiple tornadoes on the ground at the same time. So in the video that you're seeing of the tornado south of Alan's house that we had paralleled, there was another tornado south of that one that tore down more power lines south of Table Grove, which caused us to take another detour. We couldn't hop on 136 and make it back. Again, thank you, Alex Fanning. We're going to put up the radar signature showing the 2 rotational couplets, proving the 2 tornadoes on the ground at the same time, which we actually got 2 tornadoes on the ground in our video shots, which is
amazing.
Incredible. But having that extra set of eyes. Number 3 is something that you mentioned, and it's that tunnel vision. You lost your sense of direction because you're so focused on what's happening. That tunnel vision can blind storm chasers in a lot of different ways. Can blind you to the traffic that's happening around you. Blind you to the direction that you're going. You lose your bearings, you're going to wind up in a spot you don't want to be. Yep. Talk about being in the wrong spot at the wrong time. That's one of the number 1 ways that happens. I told you when we were chasing that the number 1 cause of death for storm chasers isn't the tornado. It's other traffic. So you being able to focus on filming in the storm while I'm driving, keeping us safe from the knuckleheads that are blocking the road and, you know, driving 10 miles an hour and just doing all kinds of foolish things. I mean, yeah, getting trapped by that hail was not optimal, but it could have been a whole lot worse. We could have been in an accident. Yeah, it could have been a whole lot worse. So anyways, that was a really good point to interject some of that. But let's continue. So we leave Alan's house. We're heading east. You can see the hailstones lying all over the ground, the ugly skies, just the ugly skies around us. We've got video of the storm roping out, the tornado roping out directly in front of us. Looks like a little noodle hanging out the storm, kind of or a snake writhing around a little bit. So we make it to, I believe it was 136. I think that's the one that went through town that we tried to get back on, but we couldn't because all the ways were blocked. We get to town, and I remember thinking, like, what's going on here? This doesn't look like anything happened. Like, I could have sworn the tornado, based upon its path and where we were and our relationship to it, this town should have damage. Yep. And we come in the north side, there's no damage. Nothing. So at that point, what were you thinking?
I was all like, where's the tornado? Like, you know, like...
We saw it. It was right there. What the heck?
Yeah, we see the roping of it, and then we start getting into town, and yeah, at first I was like, what? Okay, I guess they got lucky, you know?
Maybe it lifted right before it hit town or something. But then we get halfway through town. We get to the southern end of town, and that's when, our heart sank again because we knew that people had been affected. So Table Grove, if you live in the town of Table Grove, our thoughts and prayers are with you. Same with Lewiston, same with Bryant. So we get to the point where we can't go south. It was actually southeast at that point because that's the way that road ran through there. But we can't go any further because there's trees across the road. There's a tree leaning on a house. The devastation up ahead was terrible. So we actually we head back west through the center part of Table Grove, looking to see if we can help anybody. We can't make any southward turn on any of the streets because they're all blocked by down power lines, by trees, roofs.
Big trees.
You can see metal everywhere. Yeah, we're talking humongous trees. You can see roofs ripped off. You can see metal debris everywhere. There was the playhouse, or maybe it was a chicken. I don't know what it was.
I think it was a playhouse.
Playhouse that was thrown down in the gully. So we go to this farm on the west side of town. The roof is missing from part of their tool shed. There's corrugated metal out in the field, wrapped around the trees. We turn around. We come back into town. Reed Timber goes past us, heading the other way. We cross into the east side of town. this devastation continues.
Yep.
We could never find a way out of town because every road was blocked by damage. We stopped and talked to multiple people to make sure they were okay. The one that really kind of hit me was we stopped at a house. There was a young lady out in the front yard with her phone. I said, "Hey, are you okay?" She said yes. There was an older lady on her phone by the front door of the house, bawling her eyes out. The tornado hit my house. And we couldn't make it any further on that road because the power lines were down. We're driving around the streets. There's people out all over the place. We're asking. As far as I know, there was no major injuries in Table Grove, which is good. We had 2 first aid kits in the truck, ready if needed. They weren't, praise the Lord. So we actually head back out north and west of Table Grove on, again, I believe it's 136. If I'm wrong, go down to the comment section, let us know. And we pull over these railroad tracks, and there's a wedge tornado right there. I mean, well, not right there. It was out east of town, but clear as a bell on the camera. So we've got that for you. So 3rd, 4th, 5th tornado of the day, I don't know. Because I have no idea if the ones that we saw before were on the ground for very long, if it was constantly lifting and dropping and lifting and dropping. We saw at least 3 tornadoes. It's possible we saw 4 or 5. Let's talk about Table Grove for a second. So I've seen tornado damage before. I did tornado relief missions work in Joplin and Washington, Illinois. I've been in towns that have had light damage from tornadoes. That was your first experience, right?
That was definitely my first experience seeing that much damage, power out, and to what it seemed, everyone being helpless, at that point.
Yeah. So we're there filming the tornado until it lifts, and then a new one, of course, dropped there by Lewiston. So we go back into town. By that point, the fire department was out, the police department was out, and we're just at this point we're done. We met David. Hey, David, if you're out there watching, it was nice meeting you, man.
All the way from
Atlanta, Georgia. Yep. So we go back into town. Obviously, emergency management and the fire department, police department have a handle on it. So we're trying to make our way home. We had a terrible time trying to make our way home.
Definitely.
Took forever. Power was out the entire trip back. Emergency vehicles left and right. We finally stopped for supper at like 9 or 10 o'clock that night at that Wally's gas station that had the curly fly.
Are you gonna post that picture?
I am gonna post that picture.
Okay.
Wally's. I hate to do this to you.
Come on, dude.
Here it is.
Yep.
Curly flies.
Yum.
So we ended up making it back. I think it was around 12:30. 1 o'clock in the morning, something like that, when we pulled in. I didn't go to sleep until like 3:30 in the morning because I was so hyped up.
Yep, adrenaline's still rushing.
But I've been on several tornado chases, and I know what they're like. It was a really interesting day because from the time we left DeMont in the morning here in Northwest Indiana until we returned, I kept saying, "This is what's going to happen next. This is what's going to happen next." I think a part of you believed me, but another part of you was like, I don't know about this.
Yeah, I'm like,
I don't
really?
know. I don't know. It seems kind of far-fetched.
Yeah.
And then, we hit the clear skies and the 80 degrees, then it gets up to like 85, which is over the 84 degrees that I was kind of nervous about. And I think at this point, because I've been on so many chases, I really want to just turn the floor over to you. And I want you to talk about your experience as a whole. And you can do it kind of the way I did it, laying it out, chronologically, or you can just talk about it in general. But overall, what was your thoughts? What are your thoughts today? We're a week later, roughly a week later. What is your thought today, looking back on that?
So I'm gonna start out with right there at that town that we experienced the temperature change. What was that town?
I'm gonna end up pronouncing it wrong. Let me look this up.
Okay.
So it's.
So as you're looking it up, I would say my thought was these people do not know what's coming because
Monmouth, Monmouth, Monmouth.
Monmouth.
Monmouth. I don't know.
Someone please comment the pronunciation.
Yeah, it's off of Route 34 there, west of Galesburg. I think it's Monmouth, but I'm not sure.
We could always do that Google sound out app or
it's more fun to make people go down to the comment section.
That is very true. But so that was my first thought was like, wow, people don't know what's coming, especially after everything that you told me, that it's like the calm before the storm. Like it's it goes from being a crazy rainy day to all of a sudden sunny skies, 80-degree weather. You're like, man, I'm in Florida. And so it was definitely crazy to see that. But rewinding back in the day, I would say I almost couldn't sleep the night before because I was so excited to go into this trip with you. And so, when we got here, I would say maybe, like 10 minutes earlier than what I should have.
No, you're fine.
And it was still, it had just stopped raining a little because it had just sprinkled. And then on our way there, it seemed like it was kind of sprinkling on and off. But so as we left your house, I'm just like, man, this is going to be a far drive. Like, I never imagined, like, okay, I'm going to be going this far for a day and coming right back, So as we're going, you're explaining, I mean, we're in DeMont. We started hitting the town of Lake Village. And already there, you could start seeing just, different, like, waves in the sky or just the different cloud formations in the sky. And it was nothing, it was just the rainstorm, so that's all it was. But you're explaining all these situations to me, and how exactly a tornado forms, because like I said, until this day I was really ignorant about this stuff. And so we started making our way more down the stretch of the longest stretch of highway. And was it before that we saw that abandoned jail?
Oh, yeah, it was before that. It was right outside of, Dwight.
So not only are you a storm chaser, but he's a ghost hunter, too. So
I like my adventures.
Yes.
And I did look that place up. It is closed.
Yeah? It is closed?
It is closed.
I'll have to get in contact with someone.
Yeah. Illinois Department of Corrections owns it now.
Oh, man. I already feel the goosebumps. But, so as we're passing there, you start seeing a lot, that's when you told us about that first storm, that there was another storm kind of, north of us?
Yeah, it was northwest,
northwest.
by Quad Cities.
See, at that point, I still had my sense of direction. But, so then that's when we started veering that way, and there got to a point where you're like, okay, it looks like it's going away, so then we ended up going back to our normal trail. And so I'm like, man, we're getting action before the action. Mm-hmm. And so as we're going, then we get to that point where we start entering that 80-degree weather. And as we're coming out of the town, I'm like, wow, like, are you sure there's going to be a storm around here? like, what, you just bring me for the view or what? And so as we are getting closer, you're telling me, oh, hey, look, it looks like there's a storm chaser there. And I'm like, is there really more of you? I know to a lot of you storm chasers out there, you're like, man, this kid does not know anything. And yeah, you're right. I do not know anything. I'm barely learning, so I'm definitely excited to be part of the community. And again, so now we're headed to the gas station in Mount Pleasant. And no, actually before it was the park. No, it was the gas station.
Yeah, we stopped at the gas station.
We stopped at the gas station. I got off. There was a girl learning how to drive. You remember that?
Yeah. Where were they from? Where did I say Fiji?
Yeah, he said something.
I think they were from Fiji.
It was not around here.
Yeah.
And super nice. It was 2 girls and a guy, and they were they're just teaching her how to drive. So we ended up going inside. You were telling me about collecting some hail, so I went and bought one of those styrofoam coolers.
It's still in the back of my truck in case we ever need it again.
And so now we have that. And then as we were pulling up or we were leaving, we saw more of those storm chasers, which I didn't know at that point. At first it looked like there was a bunch of guys around a cop car, which ended up being Chris's car.
Yeah, that's Chris's car that got destroyed.
Yeah. And so then we ended up going to the park, just kind of waiting there, and waited there for, it wasn't even like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it wasn't long.
No, so then we ended up, as we're making our way out of the park, we saw another storm chaser that we talked to for, it was maybe like a minute or two.
Yeah, he definitely went the wrong direction if he went where he said he was going to go.
Yeah. And so then we ended up going back to the gas station because he said, hey, well, let's go talk to him. And I'm kind of glad we went to go stop and talk to him.
Yeah, made some friends.
Yeah, made friends with a nice group. And so then I remember I was like, man, I gotta go to the bathroom again, and you're like, hurry up, and I'm like, okay. So I'm here literally running, and yes, I did wash my hands. But so we finally get back to the truck, and well, before that, we took a big picture, which you'll probably post it here now.
Oh, several times. This is gonna make it at least 3 or 4 times in this video.
So then
Great group of guys.
Yep. So then finally, when it seemed like the storm was getting a lot closer, we ended up following. What was it? We were in a group of like 5 4 vehicles.
Yeah, 4 or 5. Yeah, because the one kid kept going. He didn't. We were the 4th vehicle back.
Yeah.
But we should have been the 5th. But the one guy kept going.
Okay.
He kept going east.
So we finally, throughout the whole time, I think we saw maybe 1 or 2 already on the side of the roads.
Yep. Skip's team was out there already on the side. Yep.
And then we ended up stopping, getting a pretty nice view. It was a very nice view just there. Trying to get your iPad to capture it, and the wind was not having it.
It wasn't cooperating.
No. So, like you said earlier, I think we maybe spent a little too much time there. We got a little excited. At least that's what I think. Because, it wouldn't be excited. I mean, you're with a bunch of other group of guys that like to do what you do, and we just I think we spent a little too much time there because maybe we would have beat the storm, but who knows?
Yeah, and I kept saying, I really think we need to get south. It's going to turn to the right. I really think I sat there for 10 to 15 minutes saying that. And who knows if we had done that, where we would have wound up. So, well,
next time when we're there and you're having that same gut feeling, I'll be like, let's go, because you know what happened last time.
Yeah, that's right.
So then as we're going, I'm all like, I guess I'm trying to remember what my first thought was like. At first, I'm like, okay, so are we trying? Because at first, I thought that was going to be the center of the show. I thought, okay, well, what are we doing now that we're going to be going that way if right here we're going to get a pretty good view of it? Well, now to find out, we're going to the show. That's literally what we're doing. So
if we had stayed there, we never would have seen it because it turned to the right. That storm never went through that area that we were sitting at. I don't even think they got clipped by much more than just some rain showers.
Yeah. So as we were going that way, I'd say I was just, it was like, this is it. This is it. This is the moment we've been waiting so long for. Because, we left at 8 in the morning. We got there like around 2 in Mount Pleasant. Made our way back. And by this time, you're looking at we're at 5:50, 6 o'clock. Because the storm, I would say, was already starting to hit around the 6:30 kind of area. Which is, that's kind of around the time you kept telling me it was going to come. And so we ended up going, I think at that point, east and south? Kept going.
Yep.
And I just remember trying to find you straight roads, trying to, as I'm doing that, having my camera right here, trying to take it out of the window, trying to get some good footage. That way you guys didn't see the windshield the whole time. But, so yeah, as we're going that direction, then it starts kind of just slowly hailing, and I'm like, damn, okay, maybe we will beat this. And then when it started turning into baseball size hail, I was all like, oh shoot. And I remember before the baseball size, you saw, we lost the windshield because there was a little nick from the golf size balls.
Well, that was already partially there from gravel that had hit my truck.
Oh, it was gravel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Part of that was gravel from a month or 2 prior. There was a chip already there from I-65 driving up by the Lowell exit where you have all the rock trucks. So that was already there. It just was made worse.
With the hail, yeah. And then when that baseball size one hit the... it didn't even daze me. I saw it, I was like, whoa. It just, I never thought about any consequences. Okay, if that breaks, it's going to get all over it. No, that never went through my mind. I was like, I hope I caught that on camera. And actually, you were the one that caught it with the dash cam just a little on the side. I wish I would have been having that camera a little forward, but I had it on the side towards the storm.
But at the same time, you were catching the tornado.
Yeah.
So
then at that point, obviously, it was just boom, boom, boom. We get hit. And then it seemed like the driveway was right there for it seemed like everything was right there for us. Like God was just here's your detour. And like I said, from there we veered off, went to, Alan was there waiting for us. Like I said, he was just it was like he was there meant to be waiting for us. And then we went in, or before we went in, then we saw the other truck with the group of guys pull up. And
yeah, they were right behind us. I had him in the rearview mirror almost the whole time.
Yeah, and if you look back in the video, I mean, we talked about the experience of just the fact of what do we do? You know, we stay here in the truck or we go inside, and then I feel so bad because like after we got out of the house, you told me I didn't catch nothing on camera. I got way too excited, and I'm all like, okay, well these guys are out there. I was like, do you want me to go? I was like, I'm just waiting for you to tell me, hey, go out. So,
and as soon as the bigger hail stopped, it was fine. At that point, we were safe to go out, and
so I ended up going out, and
I've got you on the video. I'll post it here again. You can see him with the camera, not recording a thing.
Not recording a freaking thing, but you know, and I don't know if it was a glitch or what the heck happened, or maybe I just didn't press the button hard enough, but yeah, I think I got way too excited that it just was not recording, and then I'm all like, dude, I got that all on camera. And then not even, 2-3 minutes later on the right, as we're getting in the truck, because I recorded that whole thing, I'm all like, I hope I got that on camera because it's not recording. And so I was hoping that maybe by the time I was already in the truck, that's when it stopped recording. And no, it was the whole thing from the moment we got out of that house. But like, we want to respect Alan's home, so that's why I didn't pull out the camera there, and maybe the other guys did. I'm not sure, not 100% sure. But
I didn't even catch their name. I mean, I think they said it, but they were talking like a million miles an hour.
Yeah, I know. You know, we introduced ourselves. Everyone introduced themselves, but the only I gotta say the only name that really stuck was Alan's. You know, and that's because he had his uniform on that said Alan.
And he was the one that was so kind to us and showed us.
Yeah, very kind. And I can't forget his puppy.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah. The puppy was right there helping us through the storm. And then as we're headed, so then after that, you know, then they started leaving, and I'm like, "Do we go?" And you're like, "Yes, let's go." So we started heading out, and then from there we started making our way. Kept going. What was it? East, a little east. And then we finally hit the town of Taper Grove, and then from there, that's when we started seeing all that. And I thought, and I think we both kind of mentioned it was like, where are the firemen at? Like, because there was no firemen out. But
do you remember the smell? The smell of diesel?
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Yeah, because as we were going in there, it kind of smelled, and I wonder where the heck that smell was coming from. Because
from the trucks that got flipped. That next block over, there was 2 pickup trucks that were flipped over, but they were diesels.
Yeah, because you could smell that.
Or maybe that farm that lost the shed had a diesel tank out back, and that was part of that debris that we saw down in the woods.
Yeah, because there was and that could have been too, because I know for sure there was like a bin, a small bin that had to be at least a 10,000, 20,000 bushel bin that got all torn apart.
Yeah, destroyed, shredded, absolutely shredded, just hanging from the trees in those woods.
Yep, and then so going back to the whole fireman thing, I give props to all you volunteer firemen that help everyone out on your everyday basis, helping out your communities, because it's not easy, and at the end of the day, it's a volunteer, so it's not like you're getting paid for it, so, we thank you, and I think maybe what took it so long was, at the end of the day, they were just hit by a tornado,
so we were only there maybe a minute and a half to 2 minutes after the tornado hit, and then that's how soon we were there.
Yep, and then literally, like, not even 5 minutes later, as we're making the lap around, all of a sudden you see all the fire trucks already out.
Yep, so every single truck was out of the building.
So I want to assume
every truck.
I want to assume that the first concern was, hey, they're making sure their families are okay, because I mean, they got hit pretty hard.
Well, and if they lived south of the town, how were they going to make it to the fire station? Now, all those roads were closed.
Because I know, like in our area, they're not all like a mile away from the fire station. There's some guys that are like 15 miles away or 10 miles away from the town, so it takes a little bit to get there.
Yeah.
And after that, I bet you they were there all night.
Oh, I'm sure. And then we had other volunteer stations coming from the south. We talked to those guys there at the intersection.
Yep.
And they said they got more fire trucks coming in. Just crazy. We were only a minute and a half to 2 minutes behind the tornado, so like even if they lived right there, there's probably no way they could have had those trucks out any faster than what they did.
No, and good thing they did have that portable generator, or the generator there, because I mean, even though the doors are manual, it still would have took a long time to get those doors up just to get those trucks out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all first responders in the Table Grove, Lewiston, Bryant area, not just in those towns, but all the mutual aid responders, police, fire, ambulance, paramedic, everybody,
Everyone.
Emergency management, fantastic job. All the people that were volunteering, all the storm chasers that stopped to make sure that people were okay. Huge kudos to all of you, to all the storm chasers that got hit by the tornado or by the hail. High risk Chris, I'm looking at you. Chris Hall, I'm looking at you. Us, for the hail. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Kudos for even being out there. I know a lot of people think that we're crazy. We hear that all the time. But huge kudos. You don't hear it enough for being out there and being the eyes on the road, giving that what's going on, that true earth value, that report to the National Weather Service, to emergency management, ground truth, making sure that people know what's going on, keeping people safe. So to all you storm spotters out there too, kudos to you. Thank you for giving the advance notices. When those tornado warnings were coming across, we knew once the tornado was on the ground, because the tornado warning said, confirmed by weather spotters, tornado on the ground. When people seem to see those words on a tornado warning, then they take it more serious. Yep. Kind of going back to what you were saying earlier. So to the Storm Spotter Network, fantastic job. It was wonderful seeing all of you out there trying to keep people safe, first responders, fantastic. A couple final takeaways. I'm going to give one, and I'm going to give two, and then I want you to give your final takeaways. Number one, apparently I'm getting old. Because remember when we were sitting there at the gas station, how long have you guys been chasing? Oh, since like 2020, 2018. They asked me, when did you start chasing?
96.
96, 97? Yeah. What? We weren't even born yet.
Yep, I was born in 96.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Makes me feel old. So that was one of my first takeaways is, man, I'm getting up there. But I'm not slowing down, so don't worry about that. Second takeaway is it was so good having a very, very solid partner to go with me.
I appreciate it.
It's going to be really, really fun continuing to do this, being able to put these out on YouTube for everybody to see. Hopefully we can get ourselves up to 1,000 subscribers, monetize this channel. That doesn't mean you have to pay. It's free for you to like and subscribe. So make sure you're liking these videos, subscribe to this channel. It doesn't cost you anything. But once we get enough subscribers, YouTube will actually start paying us because they can advertise. And that would be really nice for that to help offset some of the cost of the fuel that it costs to chase, some of the equipment, the fancy cameras, the dash cams, the computers, all those fantastic things. Even the simple radar app that I use on my phone to give people updates is it costs money, and it's not cheap. It's not a simple app like most apps are free. No, it's actually a very expensive app because it has a lot of different radar tools that I can use. So it'd be nice to be able to monetize this channel. So please like this video, subscribe, go down to the comment section. Third takeaway is you are invited to come along anytime you want.
Thank you.
You've got a permanent seat in the truck if you want it. It's yours.
Awesome.
So those are my three takeaways. Glad everybody is safe. That I know there were injuries. I believe there was a couple fatalities in the Lewiston area, which breaks my heart. But all told, considering how strong that storm was, how isolated it was, it could have been a whole lot worse. Thank goodness that for the vast majority of the time, it was out over open fields. So, What you got? Final takeaways.
Final takeaways was I had a great time. Thank you for having me, because it was definitely an exciting moment in my life, and I think I finally found my hobby that I've been looking for. So, second, next morning, I was dog tired. I had a detail in the morning, and I felt so bad because I fell asleep, and the guy had just texted me, you know who you are, Lance Brown. He texted me like 9 minutes ago, and I'm waking up. I'm like, and so here I am putting whatever clothes I have on to go, meet you out there and still take you home. That way, because of the writing. And third is just, again, just a great experience, and it definitely makes a difference to be there with a great guy that knows what he's doing, that has invested so much time out of his life and his days, and just to be able to help us out, and knowing when the storms are coming, knowing how they're coming, and that way we can take safety precautions. So, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, so I do want to point out the next morning it was pouring down rain, and I told him it was going to, but I saw your Facebook post.
Yep.
I commented on it.
Yep. As I'm out there detailing. I don't know. I was waiting for, at first I was like, no, it ain't gonna rain like that. There's not gonna be no second wave. And here I am, already have all my stuff out. I start giving the truck a good wash. The next thing you know, it's pouring. And I got some video on that, so I could always give it to you to post, or you can always check out my page at Dominguez Custom Detailing LLC in Des Moines, Indiana.
Hey, if somebody wants to reach out to you for some custom detailing, what's a good phone number to reach you at?
219-863-3507. And, yep, call me whenever you want, text me, or visit us on Facebook. Also got TikTok, too. So,
nice.
And Instagram. You can find us on Instagram, too.
Hey, I sent out my first twits.
First twits?
My first twits on the tweeter.
Man, I don't even have that.
I sent out twits on the tweeter. I've never done that before. Man. I've just shared other people's posts. But, yeah, I actually used Twitter for the first time. That's awesome. All jokes aside, to post some weather pics, but... for now on, it's going to be, Facebook is always the place to go for live updates during the storm.
Yep.
Once we get enough subscribers and get this channel enough activity, I can actually live stream my chases on YouTube.
That'd be awesome.
That's something that I'm looking to do. That dash cam I have is set up to do live streaming.
Oh, yeah. That'd be awesome.
So that'd be fun, but we have to have enough subscribers, enough view hours. So if you can, like I said, make sure you're subscribing to this. Yep. Come out to this channel. I'm going to be posting all kinds of adventures. We got my storm chasing adventures. We're going to have my ghost hunting adventures. I'm going to have my fishing, hiking, hunting, all those adventures. This channel is going to be fun. It's going to have a whole variety. So it doesn't really matter what you like. There's surely going to be something out here for you. Because life is short, and I want to have fun, and I want to get paid to have fun.
Yep. And at the end of the day,
a good idea.
This is for you guys. We're having the fun already. We're experiencing the fun, and we want to experience the fun with you guys.
Absolutely. All right, so we do have a challenge for you. So Fernando has asked me, he said, man, we got to have a name for the team.
Yes.
Right? And what did I say?
You said you weren't good at making names. So
I'm not good at naming
I think I know what you're doing, and I think it's a good idea.
All right, so challenge. Go down to the comment section. We need to have a name for our tornado chasing team. We need to have a separate name for our ghost hunting team. So come up with these names. You said something about maybe even getting some decals made or something.
Yeah, I was thinking we'll put it on our trucks, and that way we gear them up to go. But yeah, that'd be awesome.
Sweet, right? All right, so 2 challenges. We need a name for the storm chasing, and then we need a separate name for the ghost hunting. But I am no good at naming things. Go down to the comment section. Give us some ideas. We'd really appreciate it. Make sure you like this video. Subscribe to this channel so you can get more content like this.
Yeah.
Hey, until next time.
See you guys next time.
See ya.
Wow, man.
Yeah, it's right here.